Very good morning to you all, our dear listeners and viewers. Welcome to ACFIM Talks, our weekly talk show where we discuss the pertinent issues concerning the governance of the country, looking at the electoral democracy as a domain and money in politics as the thread. This week has been quite an interesting week. We, as early as Monday, we were thrown into a frenzy of the speakership race and the deputy speakership race. We'll be discussing that briefly. Before we start the show, I'm encouraging and inviting each one of you to quickly log in, join us on our Facebook page, ACFIM. Also, we have a Twitter handle at ACFIMUG, and also we have a YouTube channel where you can watch ACFIM Talks live, ACFIM Uganda. So you better subscribe and also like our YouTube channel. You can also follow us on our website, www.politicalfinanceafrica.org. And this week, today on Friday, 28th of May, I have a guest who I'm going to be introducing in a short while. But I am encouraging each one of you once again to subscribe to our YouTube channel, ACFIM Uganda, and it's also good that you like our channel so that you can be able to get the updates when ACFIM Live is about to have or go live and every weekly talk show we have. So now allow me to also be able to introduce our guest today in the studio. We have Otim Akonopesa. I hope I got that right. Akonopesa Levi is a career diplomat, is a political analyst, is a humanitarian advocate with International Human Rights Commission. He has volunteered as a regional coordinator in the Republic of Uganda. Is a political analyst and also an economic analyst. He has a Bachelor of Arts in International Relations and a diplomacy from Stratford University. He's also pursuing his master's in International Relations with Cavendish University. You are most welcome, Otim.
Thank you very much, my brother Felix Kafuma.
I hope I got your name right. Akonopesa. Is that how it's pronounced?
Yeah, that is the exact spelling and the pronunciation.
Great. All right. Yes. It's good to have you on the set. We are discussing the impact of internal political party processes on Uganda's general politics.
Yes.
The genesis of this topic has been mainly informed given the developments that we've seen happen. It's not just the way NRM, the biggest party and the party in power, has handled the speakership race, but also over time we've seen how other political parties have been handling internal processes, including despondency. But to throw this thing in the bigger picture of the frame is, what does this mean? How does this impact the national politics? We all know that the behavior and the architecture of a political party mirrors the behavior and the architecture of the national politics. So we've had this discussion before when we were looking at the primaries of NRM, how they usually do set the tone on how we should expect and anticipate the general elections to pan out. But now we want to take a different tangent and discuss looking at how they were able to internally mobilize, organize, and deal with the intricacies that came with identifying the flag bearers for the position of the speaker, which for a long time it has been a running debate of, is it Kadaga, is it Olanya? And people kept wondering how NRM sort this impasse, but we saw how they handled it, and we all know now that Right Honorable Kadaga is no longer the Speaker of the 11th Parliament. We now have who was once the Deputy of the 10th Parliament, Right Honorable Jacob Olanya, now is the Speaker of the 11th Parliament. For the next 5 years, it's going to be Olanya steering the ship. But also the way they handled the speakership race, the deputy speakership race, to have among Right Honorable, among as the Deputy Speaker. I think there are lessons for us there to learn, but also questions that need answers. So I'm going to start straight away with my first question on, from your perspective, you observed what happened. What do you make of how your party handled this speakership race?
No, NRM as a party is, I would want to begin by first thanking you for the program, and to our viewers, a good morning. First of all, NRM as a party is one of the biggest with the majority intake, say, the number of members of parliament. It is one that has the majority MPs, and having the organs try to come in to assess and then come up with the position of speaker and deputy speaker is a normal call. And this is the party with the biggest number. You'd expect the commotion that we saw happen, whereby the former speaker had wanted to have another term in office, and they call it the gentleman's agreement, had indicated that she would have her 10 years and then possibly also give room to the next person to come on board for another 2 terms or 1 term, the way it is perceived, or how they will handle. So the outcome, or rather, I don't want to call it commotion, because it was something that was handled with the top organ, like SEC, had to sit, and then they also went down to voting for that particular one, the speaker. But then when it came to deputy speaker, we saw how they nominated the candidates, and then the caucus, that was now the group of the MPs, had to go down and elect a flag bearer who would later on be supported by the majority, I call it the majority party, the party with the majority, voters or in the house. So we saw the outcome. SEC's decision on the nominating Olanya also could have come from various reasons and decisions that are best known to SEC. But I know with time to come, all that will come out, because out of the number, at least the former speaker was voted. She came out with around three votes or so, and the other one was declared unopposed. So the arrangement, though, is something that I am yet to establish. And then, but for deputy speaker, you saw it go down to the caucus, and there were votings, and Honorable Among Anita emerged the winner, defeating Tayebu and then the other lady, Ruakojo. So them coming down to the house now, and also seeing the former speaker opt to go on independent ticket, can also be due to certain factors that could have led to that approach, and still do not change the aspect or the idea or the perception of NRM as a party, because she's one of the senior members in the SEC, in the top organ that runs the party, that is NRM. And being the third in command, I want to believe that still they will mend ways and see how to balance the equation.
Wow, it's quite interesting, because I literally followed this race right from. For some people, think this race began shortly after the elections, but I think it began much earlier. I think even during the SEC elections, there were indications of some kind of a tug of war between Kadaga and Olanya, and of course, a lot of things happened between then until now. But I want to know, just to help a reader, what was Kadaga's crime in this whole scenario? Was it the fact that she was renegading on the gentleman's agreement, or there were other underlying factors? Some people say it's the way she handled the entire process. Also, partly along the way, she seemed to disregard party structures, party organs, and some of the public comments she made didn't necessarily help the situation. But what exactly was? Why did Kadaga find herself isolated on this matter?
No, you see, one thing is when you are in or when you're on a journey, there are always circumstances, or there are always things that arise within the journey when you are traveling. So I also want to believe that her, as the speaker by then, she had an option. They came up and say because you can see that there's been a chain, there's been a connection even to the former speaker by then, who was Honorable Sekandi, Edward Sekandi, the former vice president now.
Yes.
You can see that there was a scenario where he had gone for 10 years. And Kadaga, the former speaker herself, came in and said that, you see, my boss has had his own bargain of 2 terms. So I think it is also for me to also have my own bargain. And she was given the go-ahead. The NRM supported her, and eventually, Sekandi was promoted to VP. I want to believe that, you see, also within the party, the internal party processes, there's what we call the ideological foundations, and then the internal political culture. That when a certain personality within the government system serves for a specific number or a specific period, they have to relinquish, or they have to hand over power to someone they have mentored to take over. So you see, also as a political party, or as political parties, it can be any political party. They would also have the same procedure, the same culture in them, that you see that it is always good to pass on the mentor to the next person that can come with brand new ideas, that come here and try and restructure on something. And then also it seems the former speaker had her own infights. You know, she had built her own power within the system, and also that is fear to the top executive organization, because at times they assume that, you see, when you have too much power, you can easily fail to know how you can work along with the party organ. You can disagree, or you can disagree on some, disagree to agree on certain things, of which maybe the top organ will not support your idea.
So Otim,
but
you
yes.
mentioned something interesting. You called it the internal political culture of the party. So when you say the 10 years, Sekandi served 10 years, Kadaga served 10 years, probably even Oranyaru served 10 years, should we assume or conclude that when it comes to the position of speakership internally within the NRM structure as a party, there are term limits?
That is something that
all these are precedents.
No, this is just a coincidence, because you see, as someone that would assess the situation, the current situation, you can see that the speakers before Sekandi didn't serve as the ones that are of current. So you see, within the system themselves, there is a way they handle issues. You see, they say that now, if we are going to base this on terms, let it be 1 or 2 terms. So you can see Sekandi has served the 2 terms. Kadaga has also served her 2 terms. So for the current speaker, Jacob Olanya, you might not know, maybe he might only serve 1 term, because also there's that aspect. You see, when you're analyzing the current situations politically, there's that aspect that anything can occur, or anything can happen, and of which we as politicians, as politicians or analysts, you have to read ahead of the situations, because today it can be the NRM party on board with the majority MPs, and they have the highest bargain power. Tomorrow it can be FDC, it can be NUP, or it can even be DP. So it can change according to the line, or to what is at play at that very moment.
Okay. Now, help me understand here, especially on the issue of when it came to the position of the speaker. I understand that somehow only one name was forwarded to the caucus, right?
Yes. Yes.
But when it came to the position of the deputy speaker, there were two names. Were they two or three? Three names forwarded to the caucus to decide. What? Okay.
There were three names. Yes.
Some kind of like the standards applied were quite different here. One may argue that okay, there was a deliberate orchestration of working against Kadaga, so that even at the SEC handled the situation that at caucus level only one name was forwarded. There are questions, why wasn't Kadaga subjected to the same process the deputy speaker process was subjected to the candidates? Isn't that double standards?
Yes. No, that's not double standards. I would say it is politics here. And in politics, you have to understand that there can be double standards. There can be. It's according to the way you play the cards. But also, you see, when I will still go back to Kadaga's issue and how she was supported when she wanted to be the speaker of the, I think the ninth house or the August house. Yes. Kadaga really highlighted on how she had served her 10 years as a deputy speaker. So it was also time for her and for the boss to also understand and give her space to serve as the speaker. And then also you remember in 2016, the 10th parliament, when Olanya when Olanya eventually developed interest in speakership, it was herself, the former speaker, that came up and said that, you see, my predecessor had served these 2 terms. So on a gentleman's agreement, it should be considered that she should be left to finish her 5 years. And I remember very well during the SEC meeting that was there, Kadaga came and opposed. There was nobody that he contested with her in that position. So this very time also, you had talked about double standards, but this is now the political game card on board. Olanya, the current speaker, also says that, you see, she has also served at 2 terms, and I have been deputy speaker. I have not in any way objected anything that she has come up with in order to front for her stay or to accomplish whatever she had wanted. Now, this time is for me to also come on board and be considered. That's why you are seeing that SEC concentrated so much on Olanya, the current speaker, and they had objected that for the former speaker, she should be elevated to the position of vice president, of which she objected and said that she's not ready to serve under anyone, and she's not ready to take on the position of vice president. So that one is yet something, for any political personality, you will have to analyze, and then you see what is coming ahead. You see what is coming ahead so that you can address the issue. So, but I see it is a serious issue, or it can even turn out to be a conflict if it is not handled very well, because you can see a lot of exchange, and then I want to, it is something like an intrigue. There's when even in any political party, if you develop unexpected shifts, like you bring intrigue and jealousy, that's how you end up dividing party, and you will not play greater roles towards anything that is going to be effective to the economy of the country and the general politics.
Yeah, because the truth is that the contest between Olanya and Kadaga and how the party handled it, and until now, it's still a debate of how we want to see how, and people are observing how NRM keeps it together, that the differences are contained and managed for the good of the party. I think we shall come back and discuss that on the way forward, on how to move forward when you come out of a process that seems to have polarized party members within the party. But
Yeah.
I need to kind of like bring in here, because I know Loop is one of those political parties that is supposed also to identify leadership in parliament, the different leadership positions in parliament, as the biggest opposition party at the moment. Are there lessons for Noop to draw from this exercise of how NRM managed this process, although we are yet to know how it comes out of the ramifications, the first relationships between some of the party members? Because I know Kadaga had support within the party. There were people who supported Kadaga individually, who loved Kadaga individually, but they had to choose between the party position and their love for Kadaga. And those misgivings still exist. But as we see how NRM handles the internal squabbles, what should Noop read into how this process was addressed moving forward?
Yeah, you see, for any political party, more so NRM, you get to know that there was a lot of infight that we can't count off or outnumber. And now for Noop as a new party, it has a lot of game plan to play, because you see, as having the majority leaders, opposition members of parliament, it has replaced FDC that has been having the experience. So to Noop, it has to set up its own because to set up its own political leadership that is going to be able to aid the current leadership that is going to be instituted within this week or next week for it to commence. Because I even know some of them will have to sit in committees,
yes,
and in order to propel on the policy analysis and then advocacy, and then they will also have to choose a leader of opposition. Yesterday, as I was accessing the social media, there was a information moving around that Honorable Nambeshi had already been appointed as a leader of opposition. So that is yet to be clarified. I think within next week, because state of nation address is also about to commence soon. So I don't know how the president is arranging, whether he's going to bring out his cabinet list before that day, because he really needs it on board, to be on board for him to be able to communicate. So it is a hard challenge. I want to believe it's a hard challenge, because for Nupa, the new party, it really has a lot of game plan. It has a lot to put across in terms of debate, and then the deliberations in the House, in the Parliament. And then also for Lanya, you can see, if you're looking at the internal processes anywhere, you see for the current speaker, Lanya, is a person who has who handles in a conservative way. Is a kind of a person that is rebel. He gives you the room, but then you see, it is the way he handles, keeps on playing. He's a good political player, a key player. So I also want to believe that if they're coming on board, and if they're going to be able to analyze, they should be tactical in the way they present their policies or the way they communicate their message in the House. So it is a tight one for them. They have replaced FDC. That's why you see, even your man, Honorable Semuju, only managed with 15 votes out of the other total. Because I want to believe that even them, as the political wing, opposition wing, they were divided. They didn't know who to take on. Kadaga's coming in as independent also affected them a bit. There are some who had personal interests with Kadaga, because they love that on personal terms, and then because of her agility to handle issues of the House. So there is a lot. That's why you see that I think also within them, the votes were divided between Semuju and the former Speaker of Parliament.
Yeah.
That's why you saw that Semoju didn't perform quite well.
Yeah, you're right. But what do you make of the president coming? It's not the first time. We've seen, especially under circumstances where he is intent of ensuring that the outcomes of the process are as planned, he comes and sits in. We saw the president again sitting in the process of electing the speaker and the vice speaker. Does that in any way have an impact on the independence of the institution of parliament and the independence of the processes of that usher in leadership at parliament? What do you make, and related to that, because there are those who argue that when you have an overbearing presence of the executive in the affairs of parliament, then you seem to be losing parliament as an institution that can check the executive. Probably sympathizers of Kadaga, that was their argument, and their fear was that with Olanya Kadaga, with Olanya as the Speaker of the 11th Parliament, we are more likely to see the hand and glove effect between the executive and Parliament. What are your views on such assertions, and what's your take on the president coming, sitting in, and following the whatever happened in Parliament, the first sitting of Parliament that elected Olanya on that day?
Yeah, you see, it's one thing altogether. The president as a head of state has the power, or has that in the clause, I think in the constitution, to preside over the new speaker and then the deputy speaker, which he did well. But I think also to the best knowledge known to the people that attended or that were part of that event that day, they assumed that the president's presence in the house had an effect or kind of led to the election of the current status, the current speaker and the deputy speaker. But I think also, you see, when you are looking at politics anywhere in a government, as long as even if it was the new heads of state that had been elected, he has that right. He has that thing to come and preside over the new speaker and deputy speaker. But you see, just that the fact that people know that the heads of state might be someone that is quite, it's very good during, very good via underground relation, called undefined mobilization. Is also affected the election of the current speaker and deputy speaker. We can't discredit that fact. And then also when you look at the history of what has happened, even in the 2016, the 10th parliament, the president still was there to preside over the new speaker, and by then it was Rebecca Kadaga who had gone unopposed, but then the deputy speaker, and then the deputy speaker was elected, and it came out was Olanya. So I want to, and even during that time, we saw how the president was requested to step out when they were in the process of voting, and then he only came in to preside over, and then he left. That one is normal in any political government, any government that has been instituted, or any new government. As long as you're presiding, and as executive, you have to build your arms of government. There's the judiciary, and then the legislature. These are normal things to any government. Even
doesn't the president's participation, whether passive or not passive, but the fact that he comes and sits in a process, even though it's a secret ballot, does it in any way influence which way the vote goes, especially if there is a party position and in between the party position, probably there were members who hadn't yet made up their mind, but when they see their party chairman in presence of, they probably are like, okay, I think, doesn't it in any way affect which way the vote swings?
Yeah, it has an effect. I can say 50% because you can even see even during even the fact that he was present there, but the former deputy speaker managed to pull up to nearly 200 votes. 200 votes against Olanya, who had 310 votes.
Yes.
So you can see that there's an effect. Maybe the ones that thought they will go against his word or his request as a party chairman, and they were all praying that maybe we should step in and give Kadaga, because that was the information that was moving within the corridors or within themselves. They were like, you see, Olanya is a very good orator, is a very good speaker, he has the experience. But I think also for the other aspect is that Kadaga is someone that is neutral, is according to them. So each one, when you see them interact, each and every one has their own information. Then there are those ones who are saying that you see when Olanya is in the house, there will be quorum in the house, there will be a lot of discipline because he is that person that is conservative, liberal, thinker. So he will not have the time to entertain any nonsense in the house. He would want debate to be on point. So that you see, each and everyone has their own interests. But you see, as a chairman of the party and as the executive, you need to blend well with a system that is going to advocate for policy in line with the opinions or, let's say, information that is derived from the public into the party. Because you see, as a party also, you also need your own interests fronted in the house. You also need your own policies that can favor you as a government or as a party. So I believe that is their own stand as an NRM.
Yeah, and I think that's where now the whole debate of multi-party politics comes in, because you see, at what point does the party position, because you see, there's a question here concerning if we have any safeguards in place to counter party positions, even when there are unpopular party positions or selfish party positions to the electorate. You see, there have been circumstances or situations. Forget the issue of Olanya and Kadaga. That is one of those. I think Eble was kind of like well handled given the circumstances to ensure that the party remains cohesive on a position on whom they want to front. But there are, for example, the controversial Article 102B, that amendment article. It polarized the country, that even those who belonged to the NRM establishment back home, the constituencies they were representing probably didn't agree with the position of the party. So, and there are fears that, okay, we know when it comes to multi-party politics, you need parties strengthened. This is when the party positions matter a lot. Caucusing comes into play. But at what point, what safeguards are in place to ensure that as we practice multi-party politics, as we caucus, as party positions are important, what safeguards the electorate from unpopular party positions?
No, you see, any party, any party that is on board has its own ways of how they handle things. I want to say like the functions. So you see, most of them have they have the internal party processes on how they handle their issues that concern the party, and then they will not have any disconnection with the people they are representing. As you see, most political parties, even in Uganda today, to be called a democratic country, you expect it you expect the multi-party system to fare on well, where different candidates come together or come and have to face off for the electorate to choose the candidates. So most political parties front candidates that are going to be elected into the House. So which means that even as a party, you have to see how to train and mentor the candidates that you want to be fronted. As you see, they are flag bearers, and then at the end of the day, the people that are sent there are based either on the policy that is advocated or the ideology that is advocated by the political parties, or it is out of the interests of the electorates. But the message that this particular candidate is trying to communicate on board is something that is going to lead to our development or effective, or proper, passing of our message in any particular position. So even NUP, I want to believe that any opposition party that has sent candidates to the House have their own interests plus the people that they represent. Because a political party, you are serving the interests, your interests as a political party, you are serving your supporters who are who have mobilized for you, who have come in and also advocated for you. So these two categories, these two groups, the few or the your group, the interested, the party group, together with your supporters, there is no way you can leave out the bigger picture. That is the electorate, or the communities, or the public that has entrusted you with leadership. So which means that you see there is that connection. There is that connection in that by the time you are sending leadership to come and advocate for you, there's already a message that is passing here. And the same leaders are going to work hand in hand with the CSOs, that is the civil society organizations. There are certain opinions they pick from the public, and then the opinions are fronted towards parliament. And the same leaders or the same political parties also pick a leaf from there. So they see that they retreat for caucus. I was very interested in the way NUP also went for a retreat in Jinja, and they also sat down and they planned on what to do. And then also you saw FDC coming to these sides of Wakiso district. They had a retreat, I think, for 3 days or 4 days. NRM also had a retreat in Chankwanzi. So you see, the key the points, or the key play points in any political party. That is what advocates. And tomorrow, you see, when you are in the House, everybody will be having objectives. Everybody will be having their own interests, but also you also count the interests of the party, plus the interests of the electorates that you are advocating.
Let's discuss how outlook of the political party affects the outlook of the general politics. NRM is in power. It's the party in power. It has been in power for the last 35 years. Yes. Which is it's quite an achievement. But when you look at how NRM manages its internal politics, it's, for example, let's look at the way they manage the party primaries, for instance. When you see how they manage party primaries, you come and see how the national elections span out. There is a relationship between how NRM does party primaries and the behavior of the candidates in party primaries and how they behave when they come into the national politics. I've also seen sometimes on how certain individuals within parties like FDC behave and how they also behave outside the party structures if they're in positions of leadership. I'm yet to see how NUP now behaves in parliament because it's a new party, but I've seen how NRM, their ideology, their convictions, and what shapes some of them, their character. That's why some people say, okay, this party is violent, this party is diplomat, this party, they are jokers, this party. Isn't isn't it incumbent for the party in power to exercise the highest order of standards? For example, we all know about three things define the party politics of NRM. One, it's a party that uses a lot of resources to either co-opt, or if they don't co-opt, to either manage a process. So it passes to be a party that is highly commercialized. Highly commercialized. And when a party is highly commercialized, or it has highly monetized internal party processes or politics, when it comes now to the general politics of the day, you again see a highly commercialized or monetized political processes. That is one. Two, there are even those who say that sometimes the party also takes on the face of violence, and that's occasioned. And then you also sometimes see for example, in the party primaries, there were places where the elections were very violent. So when you look at, for example, the opposition has been lumped in Uganda, the opposition parties have been lumped to sometimes also act in a manner that doesn't give decorum. And some people have kept arguing that probably the undiplomatic approach of opposition, could it be in case we gave them power? It's the same way they would hold themselves when they're in places of leadership. So there are these questions. My question here is that at what point do we see the internal party politics giving us the best standards to guide the national politics? And now I'm throwing this ball to the party in power, which is NRM, because I've just given you some of the key things that kind of like define the internal party processes, including intrigue. Because I've spoken to many party members of NRM, and they tell you how NRM internally there's a lot of intrigue, how there are camps, how there are different individuals organizing themselves around interests and power and the different centers of power. Some people who are in the camp of Kadaga would clearly tell you the forces that were fighting Kadaga within the party. And even those who are in the camp of Olaya will tell you the forces that were fighting them inside. So that kind of party politics, which is not healthy for democracy, at what point do we start to have standards of practice within a political party that the general politics is better?
You see, in a political party, you have to know that there are do's and don'ts. And as NRM, if we use the case study of NRM has its own do's and don'ts. They have situations where the representatives or the members that are subscribed to NRM as a party have disagreed with them based on principle of being open, or having a different perspective. But then NRM stands strong and says, you see, this is the party option, this is the party stand, and we have to go together, and we have to go and speak as one party. But you find that by the time they come this way, that's where they have those disagreements. So even NRM as a party, I want to believe that they have had their only shortcomings in scenarios where they needed to use the sums of money, or they needed to use resources to mobilize their own people. At times they've even gone for their own referendums, the retreats to Chankwanzi, and then by the time you're coming from there is that facilitation that is given to you. Even any other political party would do that. Let me tell you, that's the truth. In political parties, there's no way you can run away from that aspect. That's why people subscribe to this. You only find that, you see, even if you looked at the developed countries, there's a lot of resources that moves in within the political cycles of any particular government, or let's say political system that is running that particular government at that moment. So when you're talking about that very aspect, you see the intrigue, you can't avoid it. You can't avoid the jealousy that this person has a higher position than me. So there's also infights. Those ones also coming along. So when you're looking at the commercialization aspect, that's what leads actually. It is that very thing that leads the vices within the internal party systems that lead to this very thing. You have jealousy people, you have the intrigue that this man is so close to the party chairperson, or this particular person is so close to the party chairperson. So let me use resources to fight the person, so the person can go down. So you see, also when you over embark on such things, you break the party. The root or the strong pillar of strength. If the party had been very strong and then they go on and begin, involving the chairperson or the top leadership into those fights and so on, and the party leadership itself cannot come down and sort out or try and harmonize the situations. Then at the end of the day, you disagree with people. People begin now shifting and saying, maybe if I went to a particular political party like NUP, which is maybe having this and this, that's where I can be understood more. But any political party, if you to see any political party has those aspects, they have those infights, they have intrigue. There are certain things that cannot be avoided. Just that you have to sit and then you understand how you can harmonize and then handle a particular vice that is trying to come up.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let us go for a short break, and then when we come, we try to wrap it up and look at how moving forward, what does this mean to the next 5 years that are officially on, and what next? What should we expect from the new leadership of Olanya, and also what should we expect from the new 5-year term that we've given the NRM? Again. So let's wrap it up in the next 15 minutes, but let's go for a short break and then we'll return.
The monster of money politics is eating up Uganda's democracy. When you take money from a candidate, it means you are feeding the monster. Then you become a part of the problem. When a candidate who overspends on campaigns is elected, he or she will not represent voters but himself. He or she will engage in corruption to recover campaign money. Social services will not be delivered and the voter will suffer more. Voter, let's be wise. Give democracy a chance. Do not sell your vote. Focus on the issue.
You are still watching ACFIM Talks. We are into the last segment of our show, and I still have Otim Levi, who is a career diplomat and a political analyst, and we are discussing the impact of internal political party processes. He belongs to the NRM, the party in power that has just been given the next 5 years to steer the country. And we are discussing, based on what happened on how his party, NRM, handled the speakership race and what it boiled down to. We are trying to dissect and understand how internal party politics does, in a way, affect the general politics of the day. And when we talk about politics, we cannot afford not also to discuss now the politics of the next 5 years. If I'm to pick it up from where we left it, there is this problem that is affecting almost all political parties at the moment, and probably NRM is the biggest victim of this, where you have independent-minded politicians probably speaking on behalf of they either carry the voice of their constituency, or they carry the voice of the conviction of the things they believe in, the ethos and the values they believe in strongly. In NRM, some of these have been termed rebel MPs. I don't know whether that term still applies. I know there have been efforts for the party structure to kind of like try to harmonize and reconcile and bring them back to the fold. But the issue is that the problem of independent-minded politicians within political party structures is also has led to having independent people stand on independent tickets and contest, and probably they are leaning, but they're independent because they feel probably there are issues the party didn't address properly, for either for them to get the party card, or they feel that the political parties they should belong to do not necessarily offer the necessary spaces for them to express their political ideology or the convictions they have. Moving forward, how should we address and deal with the issue of independent-minded politicians who are good, but the spaces of political parties seem to constrain them?
Yes, you see, you want one thing. Thank you very much, Felix. One thing is that there is no way you can avoid independent-minded people. There are people that come on board, and even alongside any party politics or resolutions that are made, they also have their own, conscience, call it conscience. So something that pulls them to believe that whatever they say is truly what they can stand on. We have seen this with the Mohammed Zinserekos. We have seen this with the Sekikobos and so on, and they continue to stand to their words. You can see with the Tinkan Simires is that if a certain policy is not going to fail, they come out and say no. For us, as we are standing and we are not going to advocate for what the party is saying because of this, and they don't give you the side. The side of whatever they are standing on, or the truth about what they're standing on, or they're advocating for. So I want to believe that there's no way the party can avoid, but the only thing is that we are praying that the party continues working with them, because at the end of the day, you need such people on board. You need them because, one, they're the same people that will defend you tomorrow. You can see that they're the same ones that stood up with the Kadaga. They were advocating for Kadaga to be re-elected as the speaker, and then even Seki Kubo himself is the same one that stood up. I think he advocated for the president. Why is the president present in that event that led to the speakers? So you can see that even when they are affiliated to the NRM as a party, they also have their own stand as them, as leaders that represent a certain category, a certain group of electorate. You're fronting for as a person who's part of the political system. What are you taking home to your people? Because at the end of, people are going to look at you. They're going to say, you see, you came here, this is what you told us, alongside what you are advocating for a particular party. What did you what you advocated for us as an individual or as our representative in that house has not been accomplished. But you accomplished a party. Even the reason that's why you see most MPs go for political affiliations is because of the fantastic services, a certain particular political very you can see like Noop, people power in the central region here, and then some parts of Busoga, even some parts of Bugisu. The people power effect was very strong. So a lot of political leaders or personalities that were in FDC, that were independent, even some were in NRM, opted to go and contest on the Noop tickets because of the strength, the power. Then the ones of NRM, you see, when you have a backing of a very powerful, dominant political party in place, you are bound to pass. So most of the independents didn't have what? didn't have a strong bargain going on independent throughout. You leave the ones of NRM who failed and then later on opted to go on independent, and still the party supported some of them because of the strength. Yes. So you can see that there is no way you can avoid. That's why when you see at one point the president came out and said that, advocated and said that, you see, even the independent MPs are my MPs, because most of them were part of NRM, but they opted to say, you see, first, some of us have independent, minds. And second is that we cannot sit in any caucus and then try and advocate for what the party, even if it is going against the public. For us, we are advocating for what is right. But even you see, when they are doing that within the party system, not outside the party system. So that for me, I'm advocating for this, but I am NRM. Kasimire has come out, he has said that on several occasions. Sekikubo himself has also come out, he has said that on several occasions. So there are certain aspects you can't avoid.
Fair enough. Our time is running very fast. I think I have only time for one question before I can wrap it up. Now, with all that we've seen happening in Parliament, now we have the Speaker and the Deputy Speaker. We are waiting for the cabinet, for the new cabinet to be announced. The president is keeping the cards close to his chest. Probably this week, probably next week or the other week, we'll be able to know who is in and who is out. What should Ugandans expect in these next 5 years, given the way we have seen the way NRM manages its politics of the day? For example, should we be very enthusiastic about the 11th Parliament? There are concerns and fears that probably the 11th Parliament could be that Parliament that eventually succeeds its power to the executive. Is that fear unfounded? Are there concerns, for example, given the developments? Yes, you may refer to what happened in 2016, you may refer to what happened in 2011, but this time round, I think for the first time, people are very concerned with the developments on how the speakership race was handled, but also moving forward, how independent can Parliament be after what they have witnessed from the hand of the executive. Already people believe the judiciary is in the pocket of the executive. Now, with what happened, they think probably what was remaining, the legislature is also most likely to be heading in the same direction of being pocketed by the executive. What should we expect?
You see, on that side, when you say that the judiciary is already pocketed by the executive and then the legislature, the public and even the CSOs that keep on giving opinions to government, what's on. I've come to realize, you see, when you're handling a certain system, even with our bodies here, you see the executive is the head, the arms are the judiciary, and so on. But the body, the lower part of the body is the legislature. So you can't work without one another. There's no way you can expect the legislature to be fully or 100% independent in the decision, in the way they make decisions, because you see they are the guide to the executive. They're the same guide, the ones that make the laws that the judiciary uses. So in one way or another, the only thing I can say is that for this particular one, since you have seen the outcome of the speakership and the deputy speakership, we expect the cabinet to be fully loaded with maybe new faces. There should be surprises. As you see, the big man himself is tight-lipped with most of this information. The public is not aware of the outcome of anything, and I want to believe that it is only a matter of time. It can even be today. It can even be 1 hour from now that you will see a list being thrown to the public with the new faces. But I also want to believe, you see, when you put like, it's like a vehicle. When you put new tires into play, they come in with a lot of energy, with the enthusiasm. You see the enthusiasm that they come because they are ready to work, they're ready to please their bosses, they're ready to please the public. You see, even the speaker himself has said that this one is to work for the people. This one is to bring back the institution of parliament to be a people's parliament. So let's expect it to be something that is going to be probably a pro-people institution, and also try and elevate it to be a money-making kind of institution. We need the proper systems put into play. I'm already happy with him because you see there was a lot of infight within parliament, but since he has come, he has already visited these offices of the directors and so on. I also want to believe that the president coming on board, if he is to bring up a new cabinet, let it be a pro-people cabinet. Let it be a cabinet that is going to come and be put to account for each and everything to favor the people. I want to believe that for the first time these 5 years, there's going to be a bit of change. There's going to be a lot of changes, because you can see talking about transformational economy. We are now from the angle that we are facing into a lower middle income status. I remember I held a talk show on that aspect, but I want to believe that let's not discredit everything government is doing. The best part that the president is ready to dialogue with the opposition parties. It is even a fair play enough that we can always have the gamble. Let's emulate what Kenya did. The Kenyans went down there, they really had rough ons and so on, they fought and so on. But at the end of the day, the president of Kenya, together with the senior leader of opposition in Kenya, had to shake hands at the end of the day. Shake hands and say, one, is that we are working for Uganda as a country. We are advocating for Uganda's economy to be put first before us. And that was very good for them. So if the president in his speech stated that, you see, I'm dialoguing with the opposition, but is a particular that are not in proper line, I believe that, you see, we as Ugandans, we have to put Uganda first. Before the rest. These political parties, they always come and go. You can see UPC at one point was a very strong political party. DP at one point was a very strong political party. FDC equally, but you can see now today NUP has come up. NUP is also strong. He is going to choose being a young political party. It has been there, but being a young political party, just barely 3 years, they're choosing a leader of opposition. So which means that they are going to be part and partial of the policy making in the country. They're having a leader of opposition, then having a bigger number of 56 or 60 members of parliament. It's not a small parliament. Most of the local governments have NUP and so on. So let's see how we can dialogue. Let's see how the country can work together for the interest of the people that we are working for. For the first time, I think the political parties should unite and work together.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you very much. That was Otim Levi, who is a career diplomat and a political analyst, and we've been discussing the impact of internal political party processes on Uganda's general politics. Our time is fast spent, and I want to bring this to a close. Indeed, the broad-based government, which initially was the NRM's ideological orientation, and we've seen this over time. When you look at the outgoing cabinet, it had a couple of opposition members in there, and even Anita Among, who is the current deputy, the current deputy speaker, at some point belonged to FDC. So yes, the spirit is there for working with other. You can disagree on ideology, but you can still work together on the things where you have a meeting point. So I think we look forward to a very interesting 5 years with a lot of. I think it's high time we put the country first before anything else. We are Ugandans before we belong to political parties. I think that should be the take home from this discussion. Thank you so much for being part of this discussion. And before I sign out, I want to encourage and remind Ugandans that I think we are into a second wave of COVID, and the numbers are starting to be of a big concern. We've already in the last couple of
to increase. So I think the general public they should do. They should get masks. Even me, I'm just living, but I will be on a mask, carrying my sanitizer. So the second wave is not even the young ones are partly affected. By the way, So I think we need to put in precaution. We need to be very serious on this one.
Yes, and that's our last cry, as that we need to mind our lives. Let's observe the SOPs, sanitize, wearing mask, and make sure that it's the health concerns begin with you first before anybody else can be able to take concern. The second wave is serious. It's now also affecting the young person. So please, Ugandans, we need you alive. Thank you once again. I've been Felix Kafuma, being the moderator for this session. Till we meet again next week, God bless. Bye-bye.
COVID-19 lockdown has left us poor. Money from candidates won't make you rich. Do not be desperate. Focus on issues, not money. Often money used in campaigns is dirty money. Do you know its source? Corruption, mafia, drug trafficking, human trafficking, theft from national budget, self-seeking foreigners, selfish businessmen, selfish money lenders. Don't abandon your duty. Elect quality leadership, not big spenders.